When checking my freezer, I noticed that my biscuit stockpile was nearly depleted, meaning that I'd need to prep a big batch of frozen biscuits soon. Biscuits are one of my favorite side dishes, and I've been making them like this for a while. I usually make a big batch to freeze and eat as I want, as they still taste good months after freezing. Thank you to John Cannell from Preppy Kitchen for the foundation of this recipe. The key to making delicious biscuits is not actually love, but quite the opposite. A freezing cold heart and freezing cold hands. Lucky for me, I have both. I'll start by adding 480 grams or 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Then, I'll tiny whisk the dry mixture. Then, I'll measure out 1½ cups of milk. Since the key to great biscuits is keeping everything cold, I'll place it in the freezer while I work on my butter. For the butter, I'm going to cut 1 cup into small centimeter cubes. In retrospect, I probably should be using a bench scraper, not a knife, but then I'd miss out on the thrill of almost chopping off my finger. After switching to a larger cutting board, I'll continue chopping my butter. In theory, I could have frozen the 2 butter sticks and grated them instead. Because it took me forever to chop the butter, I'm going to pop it in the freezer to firm it back up. Once all the butter is cut, I'll place it into my dry mixture. I'll wear a glove to avoid greasy fingers and slowly crush all the butter chunks. If you ever wanted a singular jacked brachioradialis, then this recipe is for you. Now that my mixture looks like used litter box, I'm going to pour in my milk. Then, I'll mix until barely homogeneous. Once it reaches slight cohesion, I'll dump it onto my workstation and work it into a rectangle. Because this is a delicate pastry, not chewy bread, I'm going to avoid kneading it because I do not want the gluten to develop. After treating it like a good boy and giving it lots of pats, it's now a cohesive rectangle and I can finally create the flaky layers. After doing some math, I'm going to use the letter folding method 3 times. To do this, I'm going to fold my dough into thirds like a letter. Once it's patted back down, I'll repeat but from the sides. Then, I'll fold it one final time. One thing to note is if you add too many layers, the biscuits will puff up and fall over when baking. Now, I'll take a rolling pin and roll out my dough. I got a little too roller pin happy and made this like my personality. Way too flat. Last time I used a rolling pin, I made cinnamon rolls, so my muscle memory kicked in to make the dough super thin. For better reference, this is how thick the dough should actually be. They'll turn out fine, just be a bit short and stubby. Because I make both buttermilk and regular milk biscuits, I like to keep the plain milk biscuits as squares and the buttermilk ones as circles. Once they're all cut out, I'll place them on a lined baking sheet for freezing. But not before extracting the 2 prettiest ones for eating. I'll bake them in the oven for 15 minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. As expected, they're short kings, but I won't judge. If they were of average height, they'd look more like these. Biscuits are best eaten warm, so I'll plate with some honey and eat. Overall, these biscuits are really easy and pretty fun to make. The frozen ones will bake the same as the fresh ones, and I'll eat them throughout the next couple of months. One of my favorite go-to dinners is a 1-pan salmon and biscuits. Thank you!